Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera saya ucapkan kepada semua tuan-tuan puan-puan pada hari ini. Jadi petang ini kita akan mulakan dialog yang bertajuk Scriptural Reasoning and Interfaith Dialogue on Religious Pluralism, yang mana akan diwakili oleh Dr. Alwani Ghazali dan juga Father Eugene Benedict. Jadi tanpa membuang masa, saya akan menjemput Dr. Alwani Ghazali dan untuk memulakan majlis ini. Dan sebelum itu saya ingin mengingatkan untuk sentiasa mutekan mikrofon masing-masing agar perjalanan kita tidak terganggu, dan jika ada sebarang soalan boleh kemukakan di ruangan chat. Nanti saya akan bacakan. Okey, terima kasih.
Okay, Assalamualaikum. Good evening, everyone. Good evening to Father Eugene, Mary, Roni, Tuan Haji Noli Hussein, Miza Ghazali, Sabrina, Nur Nabila, Muhammad, Pakcik Muhammad Rizwan, and also other participants that I cannot see on my screen. I think Marley has come in as well. Okay, thank you, Ahmad. And also our director of the Center for Civilisational Dialogue, that's Dr. Rose. Okay, last time in USIM, we have made this session which is called Scriptural Reasoning, whereby students from University Science Islam Malaysia, some lecturers, and also delegation from the Church of St. Theresa Nilai, led by Father Eugene Benedict. Both parties have opened the scriptures, whereby we have the Quran and also Bible to discuss similar theme. I think last time the topic that we discussed was Mary, right? Mary and Maryam in the Quran and in the Bible. And then we discuss also humanities, or we were not able to make the second one. Anybody remember? Yeah, only once, yeah?
Yes.
Only once, Father? Only once. But that was a very beautiful experience. So with that spirit in mind, today we would like to recollect the memory and also proceed with what we have done before. So my suggestion to Father Benedict, to Father Eugene the other day was to discuss religious pluralism, since this is something that I guess something that we have, something which is quite challenging to discuss, but requires a very honest discussion from both sides for us to see how the concept really means and what does it imply, and then to navigate what we have to do in the future as believers of religions. All right, so how do we go about, Father? Would you like to define it first, or do you pass it to me? I'm open for any suggestion. It's up to you. You are muted.
Wonderful, as you had planned, as you had proposed, you could begin with your presentation on your topics and continue with the discussion, and then I could present my scriptural text for the reasoning.
All right.
As you had put in your pointers, that would be great.
Right. So we will. Okay. Let me show the general idea. Let me present now. So the general idea is that we discuss the topic of religious pluralism first by having a look at the meaning of religious pluralism and what it entails. And then I'll pass the discussion to Father Eugene to see how he perceives the concept of religious pluralism, and then we have a look at some Quranic texts, and then we discuss from there on. Have a look at Bible, okay, afterwards, and see again what the other dimension of the Quran says about this. And finally, okay, Bible again, and finally we wrap up by mentioning each other's stance about this issue and how do we go about. Okay, let's start with the definition. So religious pluralism in this presentation or in this discussion is uses the short form RP, religious pluralism. So what is RP actually? According to John Hick, the one who coined this term formally, okay, he said that RP refers to the theory that the great world religions, which means the main religions, constitute variant conceptions and perceptions of and responses to the one ultimate, mysterious, divine reality. In other words, what he is trying to say is religious pluralism is the theory which is about religions, okay? How the religion understand and look at the ultimate being. The ultimate being, which is called, in other words, which is called God. Okay. He also added in another place that pluralism is the view that the great world faiths embody different perceptions and conceptions of, and correspondingly different responses to the real or the ultimate from within the major variant cultural ways of being human. And that within each of them, the transformation of human existence from self-centeredness to reality-centeredness is manifestly taking place. And taking place, so far as human observation can tell, to much the same extent. In here, in this elaboration, what I can conclude is John Hick perceives that the phenomena of religion is actually based on human experience, worldly experience, which is always changing, but gradually it becomes focused on a reality, okay, which is beyond human life or worldly mundane. Right? So this is the understanding, the basic understanding of religious pluralism. Who started RP? According to a study done by Muhammad Logan, okay, it's difficult to mention his name, Logahosen, okay, he traced the root of religious pluralism in Guru Nanak's teaching. Okay, this person actually passed the same idea to Afkar Kabir, Ramahaman Ray, and Sri Ramakrishna in the idea of Sikhism, whereby this religion perceived that all religions can achieve the ultimate reality. which means all religions are the same, in other words. Okay. In the West, okay, this is not only confined to the Indian continent. In the West as well, okay, these people, okay, Friedrich Schleiermacher and Ernst, okay, they also proposed this idea, and this idea had later on been activated by John Hick. John Hick was the first Christian who mentioned that salvation is also out there, outside Christianity, which means for him, in the Christian perspective, according to him, Christianity is not the only religion which can save humankind. Right, so that's basically the idea about religious pluralism. Now, if we were to search online on what religious pluralism is, or we simply type the word religious pluralism, what we will see online are various. Some of them just use religious pluralism in a loose sense, whereby they use it to imply pluralistic coexistence, whereby believers of different religions live together side by side harmoniously. They have friendly relationship. They do not fight with each other. They cooperate for good. Okay, that's all. But the idea of religious pluralism is actually diverse. It is interpreted by many people in various ways. So these are some of the ways which implies, oh, sorry. Where is my second slide? Which implies actually some dangerous concept of religious pluralism. It's on slide 3. Sorry. Yeah. Which entails a more theological basis under which the adherents of the faith no longer sees the path of salvation and the truth exclusively belonging to them. This is what the implication of religious pluralism in that sense of the concept. Okay, before I proceed to analyzing the Quranic verses, I give the floor to Father Eugene to share his thoughts. Father, don't forget to mute.
You able to hear me, everybody?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so good evening, everybody, and it's wonderful to be able to meet all of you,
That's an echo.
at least online, to meet all of you online. Are you hearing me, everybody? Sorry again.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, very clear.
Yes, we can hear you.
Wonderful. So it's wonderful to be able to meet up with everybody, if not physically, at least from a distance, and yet through the blessings of media, to be able to meet everybody here online, face to face. So that's the second best that we have. Why not? And when you speak of religious pluralism, an experience of this is so evident in the scriptural reasoning that we have had since 3 years now. Yeah. One example of this pluralism is so evident in the scriptural reasoning that we have had with the university with us in St. Theresa's Nilai. Such an experience of or understanding of religious pluralism is also seen in the many efforts at dialogue that is taking place in our kampongs, in our villages, in our offices, among people of different faith experiences. What more testimony there is to this than acknowledging the reality of this. I want to stop just for half a minute to introduce and welcome, to introduce you to Archbishop Emeritus Tan Sri Murphy Pakyam, who has just joined us. Archbishop Murphy Pakyam is the retired Archbishop of Kuala Lumpur some 4 years ago, and he's present with us here today. So welcome, Archbishop. Yeah, Tan Sri, welcome.
Welcome, most welcome.
I want to say to all of us that, you know, this man, our former Archbishop, has been a man who is very much committed and convinced about the importance and the beauty of interreligious dialogue. And he has, when he was Archbishop of Kuala Lumpur, he was very much involved and promoting and participating at every opportunity that came for interreligious dialogue. He would even cancel some of his appointments in order to be present. Yeah, so that's a wonderful. Even now, after retiring, every time there is an opportunity to enter into this and participate in dialogue and exchanges, he is there. And his example of this is seen when he was, for a short while, for about 3 to 4 months, when he was sent to Kuala Terengganu for relief. So when he stayed in the church there, what he did was to just dress up, take his car and drive to the local masjid and say hello to imam that is there and said, I just come to hormat you and to salam you. And he goes. And that's what he does even now in KL after his retirement. He will look out for the suraus and the mosques that are around. And he just goes and meets them. What more can we say? Yeah. So
There he is. Now I can see him.
You can see him. Wonderful. Young as
Nice
ever.
knowing you. Nice knowing you, Tan Sri.
Very good.
And if one day there's an opportunity to come over for a dialogue at USIM, you can be sure he will be there. Tan Sri, do you want to say a few words before we continue?
Yeah, all to very happy to see you all coming together, and also to say God blesses you, each of you, because God created you. He is the one who saves you and guides you to become truly, yes, what it is, his encyclical, Fratelli Tutti, all our brothers, Fratelli Tutti. Tutti is all, fratelli, our brothers and sisters. So be happy. This is how we consider you, each of you, as our brothers and sisters in the family of God. God bless you. Right? Always welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. So we continue.
Yeah.
The influence then and the result, when we speak of religious pluralism, I cannot but think that it's the influence and the result of our historical journey, not just historical, but our historical journey from generation to generation. Yeah, and our experiences and our encounter. Those are our reasons, our encounters and our experiences and our journey. Yeah, of our such a historical journey is rooted with ups and actually journeys in journeys east, journeys journeys up and down, journeys up and down through trade. And then in peace times, delegations visiting kingdoms and so on. Yeah, let's not also forget that one day is also the result of history, the historical journey from the early ages, the early time of divine. What we know, the reference of Hinduism, Buddhism, to Judaism, Christianity. That's historically, and then to Islam, Taoism, Baha'i, and so on to today. The God experiences of people that have drawn us and continue us. And through this historical journey, the sharing of audiences helps us realize from what each of us is sharing here. Yes, it is true that it is the God experience and the God experiences of each one, which is very much a part of our head. Yeah, that's my little sharing. Thank you.
All right. Is that all from you for the time being, Father?
Yes. Yes.
All right. So now can we continue to the second part, that is looking at the Quranic verses. So these are some of the Quranic verses that I managed to collect and identify the meaning from the website Quran.com. Okay. In the first verse, which calls for humanity to be together and to remember, to contemplate on the creation of the first men and women, and from there on, generations were being born. That's from Surah An-Nisa, or the woman, verse number 1. O humanity, be mindful of your Lord who created you from a single soul, and from it he created its mate, and through both he spread countless men and women. And be mindful of Allah, in whose name you appeal to one another and honor family ties. Surely Allah is ever watchful over you. So here the single soul is Adam, alayhi salam, and its mate is Eve, Hawa in Arabic language. The second verse is Surah Al-Ma'idah. Okay, the surah is surah number 5. The meaning of Al-Ma'idah is the table spread. The verse is verse number 48. We have revealed to you, O Prophet, this book with the truth as a confirmation of previous scriptures. and a supreme authority on them. So judge between them by what Allah has revealed, and do not follow their desires over the truth that has come to you. To each of you, we have ordained a code of law and a way of life. Okay, this is the emphasis. If Allah had willed, He would have made you one community, but His will is to test you with what He has given each of you. So compete with one another in doing good. To Allah you will all return, then He will inform you of the truth regarding your differences. So this is about this verse is about unavoidable. Okay, differences or diversity is unavoidable. If Allah had willed, He would have made you one community, but His will is to test you. Right. Next is Surah Hud. Can I call another person to read instead of me reading? Maybe Asma Hamiza, are you still here? Or Nur Nabila, are you here? Nur Nabila?
Ya, doktor, ada.
Baca. This one.
Tengah bising lah dia saya punya rumah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Asma Hamiza ada? Okay, never mind, I just read it. Okay, from Surah Hud, verse number 118. Had your Lord so willed, He would have certainly made humanity one single community of believers, but they will always choose to differ. Okay, and then the rooms, Surah number 49 or chapter 49, Al-Hujurat, verse number 13. O humanity, indeed, we created you from a male and a female and made you into peoples and tribes so that you may get to know each other, get to know one another. Surely the most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous among you. Allah is truly all-knowing, all-aware. This verse is often quoted to emphasize on the purpose of creation of human being into tribes and many races. The purpose is to get to know each other. And then we have a look at the cow, number 11. Righteousness is not turning in turning your faces towards the east or the west. Rather, the righteous are those who believe in Allah, the last day, the angels, the books, and the prophets, who give charity out of their cherished wealth to relatives, orphans, the poor, needy travelers, beggars, and for freeing captives, who establish prayer, pay alms tax, and keep the pledges they make, and who are patient in times of suffering, adversity, and in the heat of battle. It is they who are true in faith, and it is they who are mindful of Allah. So up until here, let's have a look at the slide back. Up until there, okay, based on the definition of religious pluralism that I mentioned just now, which has the spectrum of seeing all religions as the same, okay, in terms of validity and salvation, okay. Based on these verses, some of the scholars in Muslims' perspective, okay, they use these to see it in a broad way, that all humanity, all human beings are the same, in the sense of it's a big brotherhood, it's a large brotherhood. Okay. To the extent that some of them, these scholars or thinkers, Mahmud Aidin, Suhail Hashim, Reza Ahmad Kazmi, Abdul Aziz Saidina, Farid Isaac, Jamal Al-Banna, they support that sense of religious pluralism. In Malaysia as well, we have some scholars who also use the term religious pluralism in a loose sense, because for them, by seeing religious pluralism in only one dimension, without by disregarding the other dimension, which calls for the validity of all religions, okay, which sees that all religions are the same, okay, according to them, there are more things that can be done among religious believers. Okay, I must also mention that among these scholars, Chandra Muzaffar tend to use the word pluralism in a general sense, without associating the word pluralism to religion. So what he means by pluralism in that sense is referring to the diversity, diverse opinions in political spheres especially. Okay, which means that instead of having a binary approach to political system, he prefers the idea of diversity there. So therefore he employs the word pluralism. He did not explain much about religious pluralism in that sense. However, Osman Bakar, Hashim Kamali, and Imtiaz Yusuf, they often speak about religious pluralism in the sense that in light of those Quranic verses that we looked just now, we had gone through just now, Osman Bakar and Hashim Kamali shared the idea that human beings, first of all, must get to know each other, must get to mutually help each other. That is, first is ta'aruf, mutually know each other, and then takaful, mutual cooperation with each other in doing good, and then ta'awun, mutual collaborating, okay, mutual, it's almost the same as takaful as well, ta'awun. So these people, Osman Bakar and Hashim Kamali, often elaborate about religious pluralism in that sense, which means they are using the term quite loosely in Malaysian context. Okay, can we have a look at Father Eugene? You are muted again.
Can I ask, thank you again. Can I ask for Ahmad's help to share the screen for me, please?
Ahmad, tolong
Share. Share screen.
Yes, please.
share screen yang tu, dokumen tadi.
Oh, document, yeah.
Is it there?
Okay, wait. Are you see?
That's Nawali's document, you know.
The other one that Father Eugene had shared.
Oh, okay, okay.
It's SR.
Yes, okay, all right.
Yeah, this is the one. How are you able to enlarge it?
What? Sorry?
Are you able to enlarge it?
Okay. Yeah, sure, sure.
Sure. How can everyone see this?
Yes,
You can
yes.
enlarge it a bit bigger. So hello everybody. The scriptural text that I would like to share with you today in this reasoning is taken from the 3 Bible texts that Catholics today all over the world we are looking at. Why? Because this is the time of Lent, our fasting month that just started last Wednesday. So today, Tuesday, all over the world in the Catholic Church, we will be looking at this text. And the first text is coming from the prophet Isaiah. And in the Bahasa Alkitab, he's referred to as Nabi Yesaya. He comes around 700 years before Nabi Isa. And so from chapter 55, verses 10 to 11. And I will read, "Thus says the Lord, just as from the heavens the rain and the snow come down and do not return there till they have watered the earth, making it fertile and fruitful, giving seed to the one who sows and bread to the one who eats. So shall my word be that goes forth from my mouth. It shall not return to me void, but shall do my will, achieving the end for which I sent it." Now, this text is coming at a time when the people of faith were journeying through the desert and being low in their hope, in their God experience. God sends the prophet Isaiah to say, "I have kept my word and I will. What I said to you before, I will fulfill, and that's my covenant, my promise. And what I said before will be fulfilled, just as the rain and the snow come down. So my word." So he's saying to them, "Be not afraid, trust." So we are using this in this month of fasting, turning to God who's saying to us, "I will lead you in this fasting month. I will do for you what I desire. A heart that is purified, a soul that is cleansed, and a life that is converted." Yeah. Ahmad, can we go to the second text?
Okay.
The second response, or rather the second scriptural text that is used today all over the world. Listening to what God is saying, the man of faith, the woman of faith makes this response. And the response is there, coming from his or her own experience of God in his or her own life. And so that person is saying this to us today. From all my distress, God rescues. God has rescued me. So from all your distress, their distress, God rescues the just. And so he's looking to us today who are hearing it and saying, "Glorify the Lord with me. Let us together extol his name." Why? Because I sought the Lord and he answered me and he delivered me from all my fears. Do not worry then. Why? Because from all their distress, God rescues the just. Then he goes on to say, look to him and be radiant. Look to him and be radiant with joy, and your faces will not blush with shame. Yeah, look to him. When the poor man called out, the Lord heard, and from all his distress, he saved him. So he's sharing from his God experience. I was poor, I was distressed. When I call, the response from all their distress, my distress, God rescues. Then he goes on to say, the Lord, uh, can we go down, Ahmed? Sorry.
Okay, sure.
Sorry. Yeah, that's the one. The Lord confronts, just one verse up. Sorry. Then he goes on to say, look to him and you will be radiant. Your faces will not blush. When the poor man called, the Lord heard him. And from all his distress, he saved him. Can we go down again, please? The next one, yeah. Yeah. From all their distress, the Lord rescues the just. The Lord has eyes for the just and ears for their cry. So he's saying to us, he has eyes for you, he has ears for your cry now in this time of fasting, in this time of conversion. The Lord confronts the evildoers to destroy remembrance of them from the earth. Yeah, he goes on to do that. And then the response from the individual and from all of us is, from all their distress, God rescues the just. He or she goes on to say, when the just cry out, the Lord hears. And from all their distress, he rescues them. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted, and those who are crushed in spirit, he saves. Why? Because from all their distress, God rescues the just. The third set of the scriptural text I would like to offer today is coming from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 6, verses 15 to 17. These are the words of Jesus that is being heard in all of our churches by all Catholics all over the world. Jesus said to his disciples, in prayer, do not babble like the pagans who think they will be heard because of their many words. Yeah, because Lent, this time of fasting, is also a time of prayer. Not just a time of prayer, but intense prayer. So he says, Jesus is saying, do not be like them. Your Father knows what you need before you ask. This is how you are to pray. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. And after this teaching, he says, if you forgive men, women, everybody, their transgressions, their faults against you, your heavenly Father will forgive you. But if you do not forgive, neither will your Father forgive your transgressions. That's the gospel. That's the end of the sharing. Meaning from those three texts, one, firstly, God has been a faithful God. And so at this time, it calls from each one of us to trust in him for us. Secondly, to cry out to him for forgiveness. Thirdly, in the prayer for everybody to ask for forgiveness, to forgive. So for today, this is the lesson then for all. This is the lesson for all of us in the Catholic Church in the whole world. Thank you. Thank you, Muhammad, for sharing. of the screen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. So based on the two rounds, can I simply conclude that based on your perspective,
Sure,
Father Eugene,
sure.
Do you actually believe, or do you actually see that all religions are accepted? Which means that you are supporting religious pluralism?
The church's response to this is an immediate yes, because God is present in all. Everyone experiences God and expresses it in some way, in different ways. So the church is very quick to say yes, the sense of the divine, and in all religions, the goodness of it is what we embrace and accept and unfold in our life, in our journey.
Is there any difference between different Christian denominations? For example, in the interview done by a friend of mine to the evangelical Christians, this group of Christianity believes that the implication of religious pluralism is actually negative, and it's actually challenging the current state of Christian doctrine, especially on salvation and also the belief of reincarnation of Jesus. Do you have any comment on that?
In every community, in every sect, there are those who think differently, but we're always pointing them back to the Word of God. God created man and woman, and beautifully from the text that you shared of Adam and Eve, is the text that we were seeing last week, the last 2-3 days, referring to Noah. Saving humanity. So we are constantly emphasizing that, and when there is a difference in not only opinion, sometimes teaching, we are quick to not chastise them, but we are quick to reaffirm this, that God is a God for all of humanity, that God is a God who loves all and provides for all, and does not see us as different in terms of quality. So we feel sad sometimes when this happens. Yeah? It's sad and painful. And so even in the Christian communities, that is what we would call the Christian Federation Malaysia. Yeah, the different sects come together as a conglomerate brotherhood, sisterhood. Or among the Christian denominations, they have the evangelical. So there's that constant reminder and exaltation for each other. Hey, we call God Father, which means all of us are His children. And when He teaches us today, our Father, He's not saying our Father, I'm only going to be Father of this particular group or that particular group. Yeah, so we're constantly reminding each other, if we are children of the Father, children of God, so we cannot be divisive and exclusive amongst ourselves, His children. That's so important. Yeah. Any others?
Or any question from anyone? I'm going to proceed if there's no question. Shadiq has joined us. Maybe he has just finished his work. I can see him sitting somewhere. I'm not sure, in a warung or where. How are you, Shadiq?
Yes, totally in warung.
Welcome.
Just finished my work already.
Do you remember him, Father? Shadiq?
Yeah, I hope you remember me, Father Eugene.
I think Sadiq rambut sudah panjang sikit. So I think
I hope you remember me. Hi, brother.
the last was 3 years ago.
Yes, 3 years ago. Yeah, you're good, so. Wow.
This is the COVID beard lah, because they told us jangan pergi ke kedai gunting, so I left it as it is.
So
Wow.
weird. Right. Okay, is there any question? Is there any question from all participants, from any participant?
Is it possible to?
Okay, so can I continue for the next part? See, there's a question. Ahmad typed it, but I'm not sure where he got that from since he is the MC. So the question is, Father Eugene, in your opinion, do you see any similarities or relation between interreligious dialogue and religious pluralism? And if there is any, are those similarities from definition or practices, perspective, or any other context? It's written in the chat box.
Yes, I saw it. You know, for I would say that interreligious dialogue is one of the results or consequences of religious pluralism, because there is an understanding, or at least not an agreement maybe at this stage, because there is an understanding and acceptance of religious pluralism, then there is this effort to dialogue. There is eagerness to dialogue, to communicate. So that's how I would see it. Yeah.
Okay.
Bishop Murphy, would you like to comment? Carry on, Alwani.
Efforts that have been made so far, and God is the one who will unite you and bless each and every one of you. Keep it up.
All right, let's continue. Thank you, Tan Sri. Father Tan Sri. Can I call Father Tan Sri? Father Tan Sri. Okay, that's a nice name. So I will continue by sharing my slide, and also later on the verses remaining.
Alani, is it possible to add on some thoughts about the scriptural text that was shared?
Sorry?
Is it possible to, would it be acceptable to add on some thoughts about the scriptural text that you Quran from our perspective?
Sure, no problem. Yes.
Sometime last week, in our readings daily, we were taken through the book of Genesis, where there is the story of creation, Adam and Eve, the first Adam and Hawa. That's in our text, and it was there in the readings of a week ago. And then just before the start of this month of fasting, the text was given to us was that of Noah, 40 days, in that big ship that was built, and the great floods that came. Why? Because God was, in our Bible, God was so angry at the sin of the world, of people of the world. So he said that he would want to destroy the whole of what he created, except Noah, his family. And he had asked Noah to bring 6 sets of animals, of all the animals and the birds of the air. And so for 40 days and 40 nights, it rained and flooded the whole of the world. So when you read the text from the Quran today, I was going back and recalling to this. And at the end of the flood, God said that he would never do this again. He would never send the floods to destroy the world. So I was feeling very humbled and assured of God's love when I heard the text from the Quran being read about God's mercy. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's continue to the next one. So, all right, but the one that we have seen just now was only partially about the description of humanity and everything. However, time and again in the Quran, there are many things that Muslims have to consider based on the verses, the remaining verses that I shared. Okay, these are some of the examples actually. There are many more. Okay, so it's here. These verses show otherwise, which means religious pluralism in the sense which John Hicks advocate is something that is not really the case of what we should perceive the humankind in general, because even in Christianity, among the Christians, for example, or people of the book, there are people who have been described negatively, but there are people who have been described very gently in the Quran. For example, here in Family of Imran, verse number 3, Surah number 3, and these verses, yet they are not all alike. People of the book. There are some among the people of the book who are upright, who recite Allah's revelations throughout the night, prostrating in prayer. They believe in Allah and the last day, encourage good and forbid evil, and race with one another in doing good. They are truly among the righteous. They will never be denied the reward for any good they have done. And Allah has perfect knowledge of those mindful of Him. Indeed, neither the wealth nor children of the disbelievers will be of any benefit to them against Allah. It is they who will be the residents of the fire. They will be there forever. So, in other words, there are some people who Allah called as disbelievers. The good they do in this world, in this worldly life, is like the harvest of an evil people struck by a bitter wind, destroying it completely. Allah never wronged them, but they wronged themselves. So this is the case of those who are actually exposed to the guidance of Allah, but they choose to deny or disbelieve the signs. Okay, and then in Surah number 7 or chapter number 7, this one is actually long. Okay, again and again in the Quran, repetitively, repeatedly in the Quran, we see the main important, the main lesson that we can take from the Quran is from the story of the prophets and what underlies behind the story of these prophets. From verse number 59 to verse 102 in Surah number 7, for example. Indeed, we sent Noah to his people. He said, O my people, worship Allah. You have no other God except Him. I truly fear for you the torment of a tremendous day. This is actually what the prophet had done before. The prophet had been entrusted to call other people to worship the one and only God. And that's the core business of all the prophets repeatedly described in the Quran. And Noah was about that story that we shared together about the ark, about the people who transgressed, who did not obey Allah. And the remaining stories in the same surah and other surahs as well talk about this core business of calling people to worship the one and only God. This is what in Islam is called da'wah, and I believe in Christianity it is called mission. Am I right, Father? Is that called mission?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So, what question is why there is such a core business called da'wah if that is religious pluralism, in the sense that I elaborated just now, in the sense where John Hicks' connotation of religious pluralism come into context. Okay, look at Surah number 28, verse number 56. And this verse talks about the guidance, hidayah, in other words. You surely cannot guide whoever you like, O Prophet. Okay, after Allah described in so many places that all the prophets previously, before Muhammad SAW, had called the people to worship Allah, okay, despite that, and despite all the efforts that they have done very effortlessly, very industriously, to call the people to worship the Creator, it is not the guidance, to give the guidance, the power to give the guidance is not in his hand. It is Allah who guides whoever he wills, and he knows best who are fit to be guided. And this also shows that the work of doing da'wah is actually has to be done, but in the end, there is a stage where the Prophet must surrender, because not everyone will accept that the teaching. Okay. And again, in the Quran, it is also stated, which indicates that there's an exclusive point of view for Muslims. Okay, the verse says, certainly Allah's only way is Islam. The literal word which is mentioned in this surah is Inna dina indallahi Islam. Verily, the only religion in the sight of Allah is Islam. Those who were given the scripture did not dispute among themselves out of mutual envy until knowledge came to them. Whoever denies Allah's signs, then surely Allah is swift in reckoning. And then another verse, Surah number 109, verses 1 until 6. This is another verse which another chapter, the whole chapter illustrates a very clear description, okay, about the principle which cannot be negotiated in that sense, but it comes to the matter of creed or the doctrine, the main doctrine of Islam. Say, O Prophet, O you disbelievers, I do not worship what you worship, nor do you worship what I worship. I will never worship what you worship, nor will you ever worship what I worship. You have your way, and I have my way. So meaning, we agree to coexist, but we do not agree to share the idea of doing the way of worship. I mean, the prostrating, the rukuk, the what do you call it in English? bowing the head, and etc. The movement in prayers, for example, it's not the same, and this is something which is unnegotiable. Next one.
Would you say it's gestures and rituals?
Yes, the rituals.
Rituals, gestures, yeah.
Yes, and then the surah number 60, Surah Al-Mumtahanah, or she that is to be examined, that's historical thing in the name of the surah. Okay, surah number 60, verse number 8. Allah does not forbid you from dealing kindly and fairly with those who have neither fought nor driven you out of your homes. Surely Allah loves those who are fair. In other words, fine, although we are different, it is not for us, okay, especially for the Muslims. In this case, in this sense, Allah direct the Muslims, do not be unjust. Deal kindly and fairly. Okay. And then surah number 5, verse number 2. And this is long. Okay, pilgrimage. Okay, but the point is here. Okay, the point is here. Do not let the hatred of a people who once barred you from the sacred mosque provoke you to transgress. So, which means you have to be very fair, even with people who have done evil things to you. And then the same surah, verse number 8. O believers, stand firm for Allah and bear true testimony. Do not let the hatred of a people lead you to injustice. Be just, that is closer to the righteous, to righteousness, and be mindful of Allah. Surely Allah is all aware of what you do. All right, so these are the spectrum of verses from the Quran, which if taken holistically can lead to one conclusion, that is actually generally speaking, Islam is an exclusive religion in the sense that it sees that the only way which is acceptable in the sight of Allah is Islam. Okay? At the same time, this is the religion which calls for doing da'wah to all people, doing kind to all people, spread love to all people without discrimination. And it is through Islam that the whole system will be mended and perfected in that sense. Thus, the blessings will be achieved in this worldly life and the hereafter. Because of that, most of the scholars, Muslim scholars, disagree with religious pluralism as the one proposed by John Hicks. Okay, so these are some of the names, and majority of the Muslim thinkers in the world and in Malaysia disagree about pluralistic religious pluralism, but they are supporting pluralistic coexistence. Okay, I would like to conclude with the final verse here. Okay, O believers, do not consume interest, multiplying it many times over, and be mindful to Allah so you may prosper. Guard yourselves against the fire prepared for the disbelievers. Obey Allah and the Messenger so you may be shown mercy and hasten towards forgiveness from your Lord, and a paradise as vast as the heavens and the earth, prepared for those mindful of Allah. They are those who donate in prosperity and adversity, control their anger, and pardon others. And Allah loves the good doers. They are those who, upon committing an evil deed or wronging themselves, remember Allah and seek forgiveness, and do not knowingly persist in sin, and who forgives sins except Allah. Their reward is forgiveness from their Lord and gardens under which rivers flow, staying there forever. How excellent is the reward for those who work righteousness. Okay, back to the slide just now. So my stance, I think that is predictable. My stance is, as the Quran stated, the Quran, based on the holistic verses of the Quran, stated that I really celebrate the differences, but as a Muslim, I am bound and I am committed to doing da'wah, which is to call others to Islam by doing kind, by doing generous deeds. And by that, I also advocate interfaith dialogue and dialogue as a whole. I do not see dialogue as a platform of religious pluralism in the sense that John Hicks called for, but I see dialogue as a bridge to understand different faiths so that we can coexist peacefully in Malaysian context. So that's all from me. So I pass it to you, Father.
Thank you. I want to continue with my sharing by saying that this God experience of ours, this God experience that we have had, is down through the ages revealed in the books of the Bible, through the prophets, by God Himself, through signs, wonders, His word, as today through Isaiah, and then in His very person, in Jesus. For us, then, it's what we believe, the Bible, given to us as His word, His assurance. The communities, the leaders, the elders of all, and today everybody reads it, understands it, exchanges it with one another. The leadership gives the guidance on how it is to be understood in a particular context, understood in a particular situation of that time in the land of Palestine, and how God reveals to them at that time, and how today in this time and in this place for us in Malaysia, that same word is speaking to us and is saying to us that at this time and in this age, here in Malaysia, here in Negeri Sembilan, this is what I ask of you. And it is not a contradiction, it is not opposition to, it doesn't opposes itself to that revealed word. Yeah. From this understanding, there is the translation of it. For us as church, as early as 1965, one of the charters that came out in terms of this translation is the Vatican II document. And one of the last document is relations with other religions and cultures. And there already it's so clearly stated, that God is a God of love, full of mercy and compassion, and that whoever expresses, lives these values, yeah, universal values, are children of God. Yeah, love and compassion and mercy. That's in 1965. Down through the ages, and in this last 1 year, this last 6 months, the church's translation of this is through our leader, our head of the Catholic Church, Pope Francis. In his document that says Fratelli Tutti. Yeah, Fratelli means brother, but in that sense of fratelli with a Latin root, yeah, it's all of humanity, men and women. So he's saying we are all brothers and sisters, and that's the translation and the teaching that's given to us as church, that we are all brothers and sisters. And a year before that, the other translation was with the chief Imam Basar of the Grand Mosque, yeah, side. He was saying human fraternity. Human fraternity, and the two of them, leaders of the world's great religions, signed that understanding. And not just that understanding, but that commitment to build fraternity. To build fraternity. And in that document of just 5-6 pages, I passed it on to some of you. Alwani, I think I gave you about 30 copies to pass over to you.
Yes. I put some at Pusat Dialogue already. I think 5 of them.
Okay, wonderful. So in that document, just 5 pages, there is something like 10 or 12 very practical steps, that he's saying, for example, all colleges and universities and institutes of higher learning, we encourage all of these entities to establish opportunities for interreligious studies and understanding for towards human fraternity, which is so true. In all of our universities, we have students from so many different religious backgrounds and countries, that the deans and the chancellors should take it upon their responsibility to say we should provide this as one of the elective courses, and to say that if you go for this and do your practicals, you get 15 credits, while all the other subjects you only get 10 credits. It will be a big booster to promote fraternity, Yeah, so that's the translation part of it. And this fraternity that the two great leaders of the faith, Islam and Catholicism, it was done 1 year ago. Yeah. And then the United Nations took it up and declared it as a year of a week of interfaith fraternity, interfaith dialogue, and they designated 1 week in February. Yeah, and it was sponsored by UN. It's being sponsored by UN. Of course, we give credit and thanks to God to King Abdullah. King Abdullah of Jordan is the one who started this some years back in one of his discourses.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes. And in fact, I think the whole month of February is also known as the month of dialogue, and that's why we're here today.
Oh, wonderful. At least we have been obedient to our leaders. Okay. Yeah, so it translating that, the practice of it for us then, locally for us in Malaysia, in the Catholic Church, in all of our church gatherings and our meetings at those specific times, our textbooks and our meetings, there is a direction that is put there as a policy here, that efforts made for interreligious dialogue. We encourage over the pulpit and the khutbahs, our Sunday khutbahs, we're saying families, don't look for extraordinary ways of doing it. Do this in your offices. Yeah, do this in your offices where you have people of other faith. Be friendly, be respectful. Yeah, and sometimes you're ostracized. Doesn't matter. Swallow it, because God is our Father. Be merciful. If you are the mucky or the humiliated, doesn't matter. Take it to build fraternity. Yeah. And from there, then, as part of this policy, they start from very ordinary aspects of your daily life. Your neighbor, for example, in your taman where you stay, the pachi down the road, 3 houses away, passed away. Yeah, be ever ready to go and ask for permission. We want to hormat the janazah, or come by and send some water, help to clean the rubbish, because the family has got so many things to do. Go by and help without any conditions, without any questions. And of course, if they are not accepting, if they don't want to, it's okay. Don't be angry about it. Don't retaliate with condemnation. Just move on. Yeah. So don't pick and choose. But as long as there's some opportunity, go by and build. What about sickness? When you think about this religious pluralism, I'm also thinking about friends. We know of how so many of our Malaysians in our families, some way or another, there are people faced with cancer. Yeah, and you know how painful it is for members of the family. And lately in our net, there are so many posts about people with cancer, Cancer Link, and a few others. They come out, and you notice among them, there is no such a thing as you are you and I am I, and there's a fence and there's a border. We are family. Why? Because that common struggle, or they are faced with this suffering cancer. Yeah. It's sad that it has to come to this level before we are able to accept each other. But then, our cancer patients or persons with cancer, they are teaching us something. Life is so precious. Let's be accepting of each other, for who we are, what we are. We are family. We are brothers and sisters. Sometimes when we meet, we are telling the children, hello, you forgot to salam. What is this, all of you? Uncle Pachi come pass by, say hello, you don't even reply. Come here, please. Can you reply? What is this? This also I must tell you. And such things help to build this bond. Yeah. So it's a practice for us brought down to that level. And of course, opportunities for dialogue in instances like this. Here in KL Central, there used to be this time when they do the interfaith walk. Yeah, along Masjid India, Masjid Jamaik, they go to Masjid Negara, and then they stop by the church. So at every place of worship, there is this, and then it happens, I think, every alternate weeks or whatever. Yeah, and then there is celebrations of all sorts. Now there's even virtual celebrations because of this pandemic. And one of the translations of this practice is, in our church's vision or mission, is dialogue with interreligious dialogue. It's very clear. Interreligious dialogue with everyone, not just with the others. We don't say the other, but with Muslims, Buddhists, Christians, Hindus. So there is a fraternity called the Interreligious Fraternity, Malaysian Consultative Council for Buddhists, Hindus, Christians, Sikhs, Taoists, Baha'i. Yeah, and we go there at the national level. The leaders meet to share their thoughts and exchange and listen to each other. And then when they come back, they translate it and encourage their respective people to do. What we do in Negeri Sembilan is different maybe from what is done in Rawang or Cameron Highlands or Negeri Sembilan, because USIM is here. So we found this a wonderful opportunity or God-given opportunity to build dialogue and to have those sessions. We did talk about some practical things that we could do from there, and then the COVID started, you know. So from there, I would like to conclude also by saying, I was saying that, you know, while we struggle, or maybe we are strong about views of religious pluralism, maybe you had in your article mentioned about, you know, it shouldn't be the possession of any one particular authority or one particular authority. But that's so true, you know, because these experiences are beyond our human limitations. God reveals himself more than we can ever imagine. But sadly too, when sorry, not sadly. So dialogue is the way in the face of in the challenging question of religious pluralism. Dialogue is forward. For too long, if we give ourselves to just these concepts, just these thoughts, perhaps through dialogue, as we are doing today, we are listening, we are sharing our experiences, we are listening to the Almighty, and from this there is a sense of awe and wonder, you know. Number one, there is this sense of awe and wonder. Wow, we are in the omnipotent presence of God. We're in the presence of the Almighty, the All Holy One. And from this awe, there is wonder at humanity. There's wonder, you know, that when we go around, when we meet different situations, experiences, and people, we are in wonder that so many people all around us have those wonderful experiences of the Almighty, of God. I don't want to control this. I should not control it, as long as it is not leading me to the path of darkness. I cannot control it, and if I do try to, I'm going to be disappointed, and I'm going to be feeling disturbed inside of me, because as a human person, I'm created in God's image and likeness. And lastly, from there, from awe to wonder, there is the sense of humility. Really, for me personally, there is sense of humility, you know, that after all that has been revealed, understood, said, who am I, you know? I am nothing. Oh God, it's you and you alone that will be forever and ever. I end by saying, I laugh at myself sometimes by saying, the gods must be crazy. The gods up in the heavens must be fighting. If, you know, the heavens must be compartmentalized for different gods. The supreme one, all God, and the God of this community and that community. But I'm saying, no, he is God, who is above all, over all, and in all. Yep, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, anyone would like to say anything, sharing thoughts? And we have lots of expression of thank you at the chat box.
Alwani, any questions came up on the board?
No questions so far, except I think from Ahmad just now. Okay, the rest is just thank you, Dr. Alwani, Father Eugene, Tan Sri Murphy, and the organizer for this great sharing. This from Tuan Haji Noli. Really hope to have more interfaith dialogues to create awareness and understanding of religions, thus remove misperception for Harmony Malaysia. And then from Sister Mary, thank you, Dr. Alwani, Father Eugene, Tan Sri Murphy, and the organizers. This is the first time I hear religious pluralism. It was a good discussion. Thank you, everyone. All right, and Nabila also thanks for the good sharing. And that's all. Anybody would like to say anything? And before we wrap up, Ahmad, maybe you can wrap up if there's if nobody wants to say anything else.
Your comments, Alwani, your comments, your thoughts.
Me?
Yeah.
I want to do this more often. That depends on your availability, Father. And of course, as we shared the other day, and I think we have shared many times in our meetings, that I'm looking forward for a more concrete cooperation. Maybe after COVID, we go to the community and help the poor and all the projects that we can do together.
That was planned. It was talked about in our plans 2 years ago, and then the students were asked to look out in the kampongs or whatever, if there could be a community project, and then they had their exams and theses, and then graduated, moved on. So we could always start with another, no harm.
I think some of them are married as well, Asma, for example, and also Shadi. I'm not sure of his status now.
I didn't. Saya tak dapat satu jemputan pun. Ya, tak apalah. Jemputan perkahwinan pun tak dapat. Okay, tak apa. But if I had got an invite, I would have definitely prayed for them on the day of their wedding. But doesn't matter. It's good to know. Dr. Alwani, I want to just throw in two other thoughts that in our context here in Malaysia, it seems to be sometimes whether it be dialogue, religious pluralism, it seems to be sometimes the tool of some quarters who use it for personal gains and purposes. And so we hear this at different times in the net of how some have twisted, turned, fanned the flame. That's so sad. So dialogue, in this sense, the effort to dialogue at grassroots amongst us is something that we must keep working on, building on. Maybe we should block ourselves for the next whole year, every month once, block the date as a date for dialogue, and then see whatever it may take, either as an online or presentation, a physical visit. Block the date.
I'd love to do that. So what's our next topic? The ball is on your court, is in your court.
Today is today is February 23rd. So we can actually block what would be a free time for you every month, every week. What would be first week, second week, a Monday, a Tuesday?
As for me, it's difficult to say, but so far Wednesday afternoon is good for me. Wednesday, I mean after work.
Wednesday or Tuesday?
Wednesday, because Tuesday is quite tight actually.
Okay. So today is Tuesday. Tomorrow is sure. So we could fix Wednesday of every month, first week, second week, or second and fourth, first week and third week.
I think third week is okay for me. Third
week, Wednesday. Sure,
yes.
I'll block it off. I'll block it off.
And the next topic would be.
We could
like to hear suggestion from you, Father.
Suggestions from the floor. Anybody? Ghani, Sabrina, Rizwal, Nabila, Ahmad.
I just agree for your time.
Any particular topics? The scriptural reasoning is a very good attempt, good effort. If we can agree on this as part of the 1 hour discussion of the tool, then it would be good, then we could prepare in advance and then have some text that we could share as we did today. Consider much human fraternity as a continuation of this UN Day of Fraternity. You could look at the book, at the document. How about that?
I agree.
March, yeah?
I think nobody has seen the document yet, since everybody is working from home.
Okay. And I try to get from our people, from our office, the PDF file. Yeah, so we don't have to send postage. I went to post to Kajang one book and it cost me $8. I said, oh yeah, pocket saya. I tried to get the PDF file because it's there in English, Tamil, Mandarin, Bahasa.
Yeah.
And so wonderful. It's all there. 5
Yes.
pages each. So I'll try to pass you the PDF and then we can share it with everybody.
Yes. Right. So third week, Wednesday, discussion on documents of fraternity, human fraternity.
So as against fear and being used as a tool, we cannot, we should not rather be influenced by that, but be strong amongst us to say we want to continue dialogue. For Alwani, you're saying, yes, this is what I see as my perspective. Yes, and so we continue in this dialogue, the sharing and the talking and the listening. Yeah. Other topics can be, for example, as the time permits, fasting, chanting. For example, ghazal or the chanting that is done in prayer, an evening prayer.
Yeah, prayer.
Prayer through chant is one. Yeah. Then the works of mercy, kindness, what do you call it? Organ donation, if that's what it is. But look at culture, for example. I mean, there are so many topics, but not just any topic, but what amongst us we feel we are called to. Why not? So March is human fraternity, so it's wonderful. Yeah.
Oh, there's a question. Can we organize for worship house visit? That's from Haji Rizwan.
Sure, anytime, anytime. And if you don't want to come to Nilai, if you want to go to some other place of worship, maybe in Negeri Sembilan or Kuala Lumpur, we will organize. At least on the part of the church, I will organize. We could charter a bus. I will charter a bus, and then we can all go in. And or you want to go by cars. I did ask our students from the visit, the exchanges that we had 2 years ago, to visit the mosque in the masjid in USIM. At that time, it was under construction, then it was open. I did ask the students to help organize one, and then, it just died off.
Ay, mana begini? They are too busy.
It was in the midst of their final exam, submission, and all. So, yeah, understandable.
Yes.
Sure, it's not the end of the world.
All right. Okay, so I think that's all from me. I think we can we end the session?
Alwani, can I ask you to ask yourself or somebody to pray a prayer of blessing for all of us?
Of course, always, all of us.
Yeah, you do a prayer of blessing for all of us. Now.
Yes, and please take care of your health, Father.
Yes.
Especially during this this heat. It's very hot these days.
Yeah. Alwani, about the prayer, can we do it now? One of you lead.
Sure.
Of blessing as a way of ending it. Yeah. Come. Who's going to lead?
Oh, Ahmad, jangan lupa takat gambar nanti.
Okay.
So will you lead in the prayer?
Ahmad is very good at leading prayer.
Will you lead in the prayer?
Ahmad?
Ya, ya.
Doa dalam bahasa Melayu tak apa.
Okey, okey. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i was mursalin. Ya Allah, Tuhan kami mohon kepadamu ya Allah agar Malaysia terus harmoni dan terus dilindungi dan diberkahi oleh-Mu, dan lindungilah kami daripada penyakit-penyakit yang datang tanpa dijemput, dan hindarilah kami dari segala jenis pelbagai penyakit, dan hidupkanlah kami dan matikanlah kami dalam kalangan orang-orang yang beriman. Alhamdulillah. Okay, terima kasih saya ucapkan kepada Father Eugene, Dr. Alwani, Tan Sri, tuan-tuan, puan-puan yang sudi datang pada hari ini. Dan dengan itu, saya ucapkan ribuan terima kasih sekali lagi kerana menjayakan sesi dialog kita pada hari ini, dan maka berakhirlah program dialog kita pada hari ini. Sekian, terima kasih.
Terima kasih.